BMW 330e. The car will cut out. You can see down here, if I can get to it, about right there, you can see 6%. It cuts out before it gets to 0% when you use just the electric. So what we're going to do is we're going to, by the way, that's what it looks like if it's charging the battery. The red is the engine powering the transmission, and then the blue is charging of the battery. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the time here, we're going to call it 12:45. And we're going to switch this back to the save mode. So we changed it back to the save mode. So now that will show here on your indicator, and we're in Eco Pro with the save mode. You can see that right there, save mode, and then Eco Pro. We're gonna say 12:45. Like I said, it cuts out at 6%. It's at 8 now. When this battery gets up to 90%, which is where it taps out when it charges itself, we'll get back to you and tell you how long that took. Let's check our mileage here one more time. We're at 32.9 on the mileage. 32.9 on the mileage, 215 miles into the trip. 32.9. Let's see if we can get a little closer so you can see. Charges pretty quickly. You can actually sit and watch it for a second right there if you want. That's the blue. It's right here. So that's 11% now, and we started at 12:45, just 2 minutes in. It's already bumped up 5%. So what we're going to do is just kind of watch the scenery here. Curious on when you're on the highway like this, doing 65, what is the electric getting per gallon, so to speak? That's right here. The electric is getting 55 miles a gallon when you're using just electric. And the gas part actually is 32.9. That's actually a combo of the electric and the gas, giving you an overall mileage that you're getting. So remember, 3,950 pound BMW, 17 BMW 330e, weighs 3,950 pounds, 216 miles into the trip, 3 hours and 41 minutes we've been traveling since 8:15 a.m. this morning, and we're getting 32.9 miles per gallon. Pretty darn good considering if you have a 330i, you're probably getting somewhere in the 20s, and that never changes. Highway would just be would be less. Maybe cities, high 20s, I'm not sure. But city driving, I know, would be less. And in city driving, I can drive around on my 330e in just electric mode if I want to get that 55 plus miles a gallon. Started 6 miles, now we're at 17 miles. Just 5 minutes it took, 12:45 to 12:50, to go up 12%. Again, that's right here. So we started at 6% at 12:45, now it's 12:50, and we've already gone up that 12%. Any other tests you want me to do to give you a better idea about this car in general, on overall only had this for 4 months, but it's not my first BMW. I can give you a pretty good rundown on the car. Likes and dislikes, I would say, with the M package I got with this M steering wheel, this is a $1,500 steering wheel if you buy it on its own. Nice cushy steering wheel, absolutely phenomenal steering wheel. This car also has an M suspension, kind of a, I don't know if it's a real M suspension. It's not going to be like an M3 or 4, but it does have the behavior of an M suspension, let's call it. And that's something I definitely like. And it's got, I'll show you later, but it's got a really nice M grille out front, trim around the side, and some M badging, M wheels, which are nice. These are all run flats too, which is also nice. Only thing bad about a run flat is if you get a flat, yeah, you're not going to wreck because you got a flat, but you can't fix a run flat. You have to get a new one. I think one dislike would probably be the fact that the gas tank in this is only 10.8 gallons. Another dislike I would say would be that the battery, the electric part of it, caps out at around 17 miles of real world driving down the road, but yet it's impressive. I mean, if you're going 75 miles an hour down the highway and you're getting 17 miles of electric for free, basically. I'll explain what free means. It's not exactly free, but you can't beat that. I think you're better off using the electric at lower speeds. And what you want to do there, if you want to use it at lower speeds, is you come down here to your e-drive button, and you hit that till you get to the auto e-drive you see right there. And once the battery is charged up, again, 2 more clicks, that's all electric, and that's, again, you saving the power for later. The auto e-drive picks when it wants the car to be an electric, so it's going to pick whenever it feels it's the right time for that electric to kick in. It doesn't seem as though it has any issues whatsoever going down the highway in all electric. It's definitely not jerky like some of the hybrids. When I transition from the engine to the electric, there is no jerkiness whatsoever that I can tell. If you closed your eyes for a second and switched it over to electric, someone did that without you knowing, I can't honestly say I could feel the difference. You can't hear the engine anyway, so it's not like I can hear the engine running and then it cuts out on me. One thing people with these BMWs and a lot of these cars now don't like is where it's start and stop. You got the jerkiness of the engine turning off at a light and then turning back on. I don't have to deal with that. I just simply make sure I have some charge and put it in the all-electric mode, and then I don't have any of that jerkiness of the engine coming on and off. Or some cars that don't have that ability. I was next to a Mercedes recently that constantly was turning on and off every time the guy crept forward a couple feet. That's not something I want to deal with. I don't want to hear that coming on and off, so I simply don't deal with it. Not with the BMW 330e. So now we are, it's 12:55. We've got 10 minutes of charging, and we started at 6%. Like I said, the battery is going to stop working at 6% roughly, just to be safe, and it's not going to charge itself past 91%. That's only if you use the car to charge the battery. So right now we can see at 12:55 we're at 33% on the battery. So that's 10 minutes it took to go from 6% to 33%. One of the few times today that I've actually had a level road, except for a very short 20 minutes on the highway. So this will be a good representation of how long it takes to charge and how long it takes to, how many miles you get out of an electric charge, and how long that takes to actually use up at normal highway speeds. So while we're waiting for this to finish charging, I can tell you that the engine in this thing, a 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, has lots of different modes you can travel in. I'm in the most economical mode, Eco Pro, right now. But you can also travel in, I'll switch these on for you real quick. Get my camera position. Okay, so you can see it right here. I'm going to switch to comfort mode. And this is traction. And this is sport mode. You can actually better see that over here. The sport mode is a sport basically M package mode. Let's try to get that on for you again. Right there. Supposed to set up a special sport handling for turns and stuff. If I go one down, I could feel just a little click in the transmission, nothing too drastic. And then Eco Pro is what I'm on now, which is the most efficient modes for like traveling down the highway like this. So we can see up here at 226 miles, 3 hours and 50 minutes into the trip. Our electric miles per gallon, so to speak, is 98.6, and our gas and electric combo is 32.5, and we're averaging 60.5 miles a gallon so far. So with 226 miles and nearly 4 hours of driving on just this 10.8 gallon tank, you can see we're just slightly under half there. I still think if they would have done a 13.9 tank or even a 12.9 tank, I would have preferred that. But nevertheless, I don't build them, so I don't have any input. Let me think of more of the pros and cons for you while we're waiting. We're at 42%, by the way, on the electrical charge. And again, let's illustrate that by going up to our eDrive. You can see that the red is the front is the engine, and the red going back to the transmission is the engine powering the transmission, and then the blue is feeding off the power and going back to charge the battery. Now, when this car charges the battery, basically what it's doing is it's slightly over revving the engine to charge that battery. I don't notice any huge drop, or I honestly don't really notice any drop at all in fuel economy when I'm charging the battery, other than just the normal miles per gallon I would get driving just on gas. But considering I've chosen Eco Pro mode, I'm running at about I'd say 1700 RPMs right now. As I said before, if you decide to go manual transmission on this, it's awesome. I mean, you got 8-speed transmission. If you forget to shift, the car will shift for you. If it feels like you put it in manual and you're just not shifting at all, it'll automatically put itself back into an automatic mode. If you accidentally leave it in the manual shift mode option, which I'll show you when I stop, it will shift it. It will actually move the lever back to the automatic mode for you, so you don't start in a manual mode. 8-speed transmission has got to be the smoothest transmission I've ever been in. Good job, BMW. I mean, you can't feel anything at all. Like I said, when you go to different driving modes, you've got just a little tick you can feel, but like I said, going from back and forth from electric to gas, I can't feel anything. I really can't. I mean, I have another hybrid, which I won't tell you which one that is, but it definitely can be a little clunky, less expensive hybrid, especially when you're going up a slight grade and it's an electric, but it kind of needs engine. It can't seem to make up its mind if it wants engine or not. This car doesn't seem to have that issue. If it's going up a slight grade and it can use the electric and it feels like that's more efficient to keep the jerkiness away, that's the huge benefit of paying that extra money for the E versus the I. If you just want to put it in sport-oriented mode and haul ass, you can burn out actually in first gear if you want in this car. It's that torquey. When I grew up, 4-cylinder engines were like someone, your grandmother would buy one of those maybe. Automatic was a total dog in the 70s and 80s. Now, huge transformation. I mean, so impressive how this can be a 4-cylinder with this big of a 4-door sedan, and it'd be so fast. I mean, if you want to be just average speeds, like I said, and be very conservative on a trip, you can do it. If you want to just haul ass both ways in manual or automatic, whatever, you could do that as well. If you're up in a fun pass where there's a lot of switchbacks and you want to put the sports oriented mode in with and shift it, other than the fact that you don't really hear any engine noise, it would be nice to hear a little something, but nevertheless that's fun if you want to do that. So here we are at 18 minutes into our charge and we're at 56%, and I'm doing just cruised at 65 in Eco Pro mode. So 18 minutes has rendered us 51% charge. If I were to stop and there was a plug out here, which you can see there's not a plug, but there's not even a place to stop for 30 more miles, I think. There's no plugs out here to charge a car, but if you were to charge it, you've got the port to do that. There are a few of the plugs out here, believe it or not, like at gas stations, but when you're driving along like this, I don't think that would make a whole lot of sense unless you were just wanting to charge for a half hour or 45 minutes when you're eating, because this car actually takes, to go from that 6% to 90% is going to take you 2 hours. It's not very fast. It's really almost just easier to just charge it by the engine. Like I said, you're going to use a little bit of extra gas, but like I said, it's negligible. I can't even tell what that difference would be. It kind of takes charging the battery in stride with just driving down the road. I don't see like I said, I'm running about 16 or 1700 RPMs. I don't see that with charging it that all of a sudden I'm at 2000 RPMs or anything. I read that the engine has to over rev just a little bit to charge the battery, but yet I couldn't find anything to clarify that anymore for you. So let's do a little experiment here, since I mentioned that. I want to see this for myself. So let's say I'm at 1600 or so right there RPMs. I'm going to go ahead and shut off the charging. So I just shut it off. That RPM did not change at all. Now I'm going to put it back on again. And again, you can see it didn't move at all. So whatever it is, like I said, it's negligible. It's just not a non-issue. You might as well just let the car charge it. So 20 minutes now into the car charging its own battery. We're at 63% charge. Like I said, it's going to stop at about 90 or 91%. So once we get to that full charge, we'll get back with you. Right here I can show you 21 minutes in, it's 106. And right there you can see the blue is 64%, 65%. So once that gets to 90, we'll come back and pick it up and then run that charge out and see what benefit we get on the miles per gallon. So we'll get back to